No. I just want to say, first off, I want to thank you for, taking the time to talk to me. I know we've been kind of like collaborating via just comments on TikTok and on IG. And I want to say like, bravo to you, because I've seen a lot of your videos and I have a list of videos I want to talk about, and we'll get to that. But
okay,
your content is pretty deep, brother.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. And to be honest, like vice versa, same to you, man. Like I don't watch a lot of creators because I'm sure you can relate. Like at this stage of my life, I'm not consuming much content, right?
Yeah.
I have it very niched into like what I need to pay attention to for what I'm creating, basically, right? It's not much for entertainment or anything. And you're one of the people that I love to go to because you have so many videos that are just so real about like relationships and your experience, learning more about your experience with, your past relationship and your new relationship. And now congratulations, by the way, with the new baby and everything.
Thank you.
Like it's super cool to finally link up on here. Cause I think we'll probably agree about a lot of things. Maybe you disagree about other things, but like, just to link up with someone who I admire as a creator because of the type of content you do with the long form speaking videos that I don't do a lot because I'm just a little lazy when it comes down to reality. Like I would love to do more of them and I'm going to do more of them. And you like inspire me to continue to try and do more of them, honestly.
Man, well, Harvey, thanks so much, man. I feel like all flattered and everything. I don't know. Like I said, the whole thing on TikTok happened generally by accident. I was just talking about mistakes and some dating experiences because I know my story is a very different from a lot of people, especially young men that are trying to date and find, a good woman and they're having a tough time. That's a whole other topic. But a lot of people connect because, like you said, it's real. I've been there, done that. I got married very young. I lost everything, got divorced, and went from a 2,300 square foot home to a room that was 10 by 5 in my parents' house and got it all back. And when people hear the stories, they connect with it because like, wow, that's real. You can read about it, but when you hear somebody talk about, I think that's the wisdom piece of that because they've been there. And I hope people actually connect with that. Are you finding well, enough about me, but let's talk about you real quick because I wanted to ask you, Harvey, like I said, your content, I have a list here. It's really deep with a lot of, I don't want to say there's not a lot of upbeat moments, but it deals with a lot of real emotions that young men go through. And I have like heartbreak, religious crisis. We have depression, glowing up after a breakup, and how to identify a broken man. So I want to ask you, how did you start this? Because you have a large following. I thought it was just King's Community. No, you have the Hustler's Handbook. You got like roughly, if you add everything up, maybe 2 million, 2.5 million followers collectively all over social media. So how did this all start?
Great question. Yeah. So really it all started because during the pandemic, lost my job, right? As many people did. And I had already like in the past kind of tried to do things like I was in an MLM for like 5 years of my early 20s, which was like for me and my wife, it was like the best and the worst thing to ever happen to us at the same time because we were essentially in a cult in a way that like kind of separated us from all of our friends and family. But it also put us into this like self-improvement path that I don't know we would have ever gone on together. And it basically it was just me and her, it was me and her. We were building sales teams. We were, developing all these new skill sets. We were learning how to, cold contact people out in public and meet people. We called it making friends and that whole experience. Right. And, that like, it just didn't work out for us. We had some success, but, in the end, it was never going to work. So, we kind of moved away from that. Pandemic starts, lose my job, and I'm just searching. I'm searching because I've always known that like my purpose wasn't to continue doing what I was doing as a sales engineer. You know,
I hear you.
like I really like it. It's provided a lot for our family. Like it's been great, right? But it's not what I felt called to do in any way, right? And I think a lot of guys relate with that. A lot of girls,
Oh
like a
yeah.
lot of people in general, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Right. That's why this whole, escape the matrix thing is so popular and all the things with that. Um, but so I'm searching for stuff and I stumble across my wife kept sending me TikToks, right? I had not, before I started my first TikTok channel, I had not been on social media or posted on social media in 10 years, right?
Wow. Wow. That's something else. Wow. Okay.
Right. Because to me, it was like it was like poison. It was like nothing good. Like that, I made a decision in like at the end of my college experience when I was like 21 or 22. I was like, this is only feeding my ego. That's the only purpose of this for me, right?
Okay.
So like I left that behind and she was sending me these all the time. And eventually I just downloaded the app because I was like, this is annoying for me to keep watching these through my web browser and whatnot. And all of a sudden there I am, it pulls me in, right? I start scrolling, I'm diving in and it figured me out so fast. It figured me out so fast and it figured me out because it was like sending me all these people talking about how they're making money on TikTok.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, okay, like this is interesting. Like, what are these people doing? How are they doing it? How much are they making? And long story short, I like bought this course on how to do affiliate marketing. And then I bought another course to teach me how to do TikTok marketing. Right. And I just dove in. Like I dove in because I didn't have a lot else to do. So like I just went hard. I was, studying and learning all these new things and I started posting and I actually have a whole nother account
Another one.
There's a whole nother account that just
Wow.
it's off the radar now because like it was talking about like teaching people how to make money online through affiliate marketing. And I was promoting,
gotcha. Okay.
I was promoting some affiliate marketing courses and stuff like that. But that was like where it started. And what ended up happening was I grew it to about 100,000 followers in like 3 months. And that was like like that 3 month period, it just changed everything for me. Cause like, I had all of these views, all these followers, all these people hitting me up. I was making money. Like it was actually working. And then the account got shadow banned and like literally no For You page, no nothing. We won't even get into why. It was my fault. But I go to start another account and that's that Hustler's Handbook account you found, right? That has like 900,000 followers. And I put a game plan together. I was ready to go. And I found this trending video about talking like it was like the kind of the theme of a lot of the videos that I made about a broken man. Right. And I was like, oh, this is like a different style of content that I have not made yet. Let's try it out. It was the fourth video I posted on the account. And within 2 weeks, that video got 8 million views. And I had grown that account in 4 weeks. It got 400,000 followers.
Wow.
It was
That's
nuts.
amazing.
It was nuts.
Yes.
But for me, it was like this moment. For me, I took it as like, this is a sign. I've been making all of this other content, that's great and cool and everything and teaching people all these different things. But like now I'm connecting with people on like a different level about things that I've experienced as well as a man, as a young boy, as a kid who, growing up, I was really overweight. I didn't really have any friends. I didn't have a girlfriend until I really got into college. Like, I struggled with, depression and all that stuff. So it was like all of a sudden I had this opportunity to talk to guys who were going those same types of things and talk about like, number one, relate with them in all those different videos, right? All the different things that I felt and went through
Yeah.
that experience. And then number two, create basically a coaching program and different things to like help them overcome it. Right.
Hmm.
And that was like for the first time in my life, I felt like I was actually making an impact on people,
Right.
and that's kind of where we are now. That's how it all began.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Now, all the areas, like you said, I've seen those videos as well. Like you were growing up, you were a little chubby and all that. I
Right.
was too, and then you kind of evolve into something else. There's one video that you posted that I can completely relate to. Is like you're more or less no one looks at you, no female attention as a kid, and then you're in your 20s and you start getting that attention and you don't know how to behave or how
Right.
to react to that. That's something that I can personally identify with because I was like, whoa, I mean, here I am. I was never got any attention. I had a girlfriend and ultimately I married her. That was my wife, ex-wife now. But I remember just being bullied a lot. And I remember just no attention whatsoever. She was the only one. And my first girlfriend I ended up marrying. Right. But
Right.
I remember we broke up for a brief period after high school. And I remember like, holy wow, there's like 25-year-old women wanting to date me. Now here I am like 19 and they're gorgeous. I'm like, me? And like, seriously, me? Like I've been told for like 10 years that I'm ugly and I'm fat and no one wants to date me. Even here I am as an adult. It was very hard for me to adjust to that experience.
Right.
I'll never forget it. To this day, that's still, I kind of feel like that guy sometimes,
Sure.
that kid growing up. It's amazing how that experience as a teenager can kind of linger with you, even at 45.
It sticks with you forever. It really does.
Isn't that funny?
I believe it. It's almost like, to me, what I call it my default setting.
Oh, that's a
know?
good term. Okay.
It's like if I'm, it's what I always like when I'm uncomfortable or when I'm going through stuff. It's kind of like where I fall back into, or kind of like the comfort. You go back to the comfort of being that old version of you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now you said you're married, right?
Yes. Yep.
How many years have you been married?
So we have been married for 7 years. Been together for 10 years now. Yep.
So 17 collectively altogether.
No. Right.
Well, congratulations. I didn't know that. I mean, just from the content, I thought, man, maybe he's divorced, going through a divorce, but it's, because, you don't know until you
Yes.
actually talk to the person, but it's good to know that you're in a happy marriage and all. Any kids?
Yes. So 3 kids. I've got 3 daughters, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 1-year-old.
Well, that's awesome. I got a boy and a girl. Again, my daughter's 19. She's at college. My son's upstairs. He's a lead singer of a band he started at 16.
I saw
And
that.
I have a newborn,
Yep.
again, 3 months old. And it's funny how life is funny. I just can't believe it. I just this was a total surprise, but it's pretty cool because I think you can relate to this. They're only little for a brief amount of time. You remember when I remember I'm looking at my kids. I'm like, I remember I used to hold them and kiss them all the time. And now they're at the age of, no, I can't hold them like that anymore or kiss them. So
Right.
I'm just holding my son as much as I can because I know these days are just so few and far between, but it's a beautiful thing. But having 3 daughters, guys don't understand this, but guys who have daughters, it changes the way a man sees the world. How has that changed you having 3 daughters?
Yeah, that's a great question. I heard someone talking about it where it was like, having boys is cool because you get to kind of teach them like all the things you wish you would have been taught. Right.
Yeah.
Like you can do that. And for me, I kind of I crave that, and kind of get that with the guys that I work with, to an extent, not the same, but, but with the daughters, it's like, I am representing what a man is supposed to be to them.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a different responsibility because moving forward, they're in a way going to be looking for guys who have attributes similar to me or personalities similar to me. And maybe that's not always true, but a lot of times you see that's who people end up with because of the
Yeah.
default settings,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
Um,
you're 100% right. I mean, having my daughter, I knew when I see the world differently. Like when I see a lot of creators like talk ill about women, and yes, there's a lot of toxic women out there in the dating world. There's a lot of toxic men. There's a lot of toxic people. But just to kind of see these creators just consistently just bad mouthing women, it kind of gets to me sometimes. Like, no, that's not the case in every case. Come on, man. And I remember my daughter before she went to college. She was in high school and she came home and she was pissed off and just like what happened? And she goes, these guys, she called them like Andrew Tate wannabes, called her a dog and said that, you know, you're supposed to be obedient like a dog. You're at the same level as a dog. And they're just quoting Andrew Tate. And I'm like, oh, really? What'd you say? And she said that she started cursing them out and it's like, fuck you. And I'm like, well, good. I'm glad you did that. Let it out. But I see coaches like that. And again, us having kids in essence, skin in the game. What are your thoughts when you see some of these coaches with some of their viral videos? And what are your thoughts on when some of these takes?
yeah, of course. Yeah. And even I can be guilty of it from time to time to post a video that I try not to just bash women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not fair, right? Because
Right.
just as many shortcomings as they have, we're also the problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it is not. And you know, when it comes to relationships and marriage and all that, it's never or very rarely one person's fault, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
it
Mm-hmm.
is always, you're a team, right? If the team loses, it's the team, right? It's not that one person or that one play that happened or that one thing,
Yes.
right? It
Mm-hmm.
is a collective event of all of these things happening all at once. And it's like people that um, just continually bash men or bash women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer that I hope they don't actually believe that. And maybe they do. I don't know these people, right? Because
Yeah.
there are people
Mm-hmm.
out there that you meet that do believe that type of stuff, right? They
Mm-hmm.
hate men or they hate women because of the
Mm-hmm.
experiences that they have personally had with one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, we both have our faults. So, like, to just continually bash a man, you're not helping anybody. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping the viewers. All you're doing is feeding into this message of um, of divide,
Yes.
right? And I hate the division that I see on the social media platforms in our country and all of that, because the reality is we are all much more similar and alike and agree on way more things than we disagree on. And this whole thing with social media that is happening right now, I feel like, you know, most of the time when you get people together to talk about these things,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to talk the way they talk to the camera,
No, they're
right?
not. Yeah.
Right?
No.
It just doesn't happen. Even the most boisterous like people, like when you get them one on one, like you can relate with them and break down some walls and like have a real conversation, unless they're completely, you know, insane or disagreeable. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem is it gets views.
That's it. Yeah. And you know what? I'm guilty of this myself because I tend to put, you know, I've had some guys call me a male feminist. Like, no, I'm not a male feminist. You know, I'm just kind of talking to some behavioral traits that I've seen and vice versa. So even right now, I have a lot of passport bros attacking me, calling me a simp, and I have a lot of feminists calling me a misogynist. So I'm getting hate all over. I'm pissing off everybody,
That's a
which is
good
pretty
thing.
funny, but it is a good thing because I'm not biased to one or the other. But I did notice there was a period because the social media thing, you're right. I'm glad you took 10 years off because for me, I've never had this amount of attention and engagement ever in my life. So when I went viral, I was like, I got to give everybody my attention. So I was on my phone. It really changed my behavioral traits and attributes. And I just didn't like it. And I remember some of the comments getting to me. And I
Yes.
remember like some, you know, a lot of women were just calling me all these types of names. And I was just coming back with just these angry rebuttals and also these stitches. And I started seeing my membership climb. Like I gained like 30,000 followers, all men, like, yeah, women are fucking trash and this modern women suck. And I'm like, yeah. And then I go like, wait a minute. I got a daughter. I can't be putting this shit out there. No. I want to be an example to them. I can't be putting this out there, but yes, you are right. It's the triggering answers and the triggering takes that go viral and get people platform, while there's people like, you and I maybe, who tell a conscious, good advice take on life, but those don't really get the hit. So sometimes I struggle with that. And I look at some of the creators who are doing well, and I'm like, they're quitting their jobs, and I'm like, man, maybe I should just sell out. I don't know. No, I can't do that. It's a bad old conscience.
Right. No, I mean, you can't, because in the end, like, you're going to become this person that you don't want to be.
Yeah.
Right. Because that type of person can't have a healthy relationship with a man or woman. Right. It's just, you can't. And it's like, it feeds into the ego. Right. And dude, I'm telling you, the once I grew to a certain level, like once I was a few months in, no comments, none. I can't read them. I can't respond to them. I can't. I get sucked in from time to time, but every single time I respond to it, I regret it, because I'm waiting for them to respond. I'm like, well, what are they going to say? And I'm like, oh, and then I'm like all pissed off, like during the day. And like, it's emotionally charging me, and I'm wasting all of this energy that I could be, using for much more productive things. And it's like, that's become my rule now. The only comments I allow myself to respond to are positive ones now. And I try not to even look at those. Like, I don't look at anything, because I don't, it just messes me up, man. I'll see a negative comment talking about the way I look or something like that. It'll stick with me for like weeks. Like, I'm like,
really,
dude, I can't handle it. I can't. It fucks me up.
What's funny is that I think you and I you can agree with me on this. It's like, sometimes you get so used to the praise. You can have like 200 comments just praising, yeah, good take, man, you dropped the crown, whatever. And then there's one comment where they're insulting you, and it sticks with you. Like, what the hell? It's like you ignore all the positive and just focus on the negative. But I can completely relate to that. And I've made it a point to where I just log off all social media on weekends, because I can't. I got so many things to do. I just can't be consumed with just, comments and just seeing what they rebuttal and what they say. So real quick, I want to talk about your Discord page. Okay. You said as of right now, there's 21,000 members of that Discord. And I believe you described it as a safe place for men to share their feelings. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the Discord, it got started probably almost 2 years ago now.
Okay.
And really, in the beginning, what it was just a place for my followers to like go, and I could like have one-on-one calls with them and like connect with them on like a deeper level, because like they weren't going to be negative people. It was like people that I could try and help and talk to, and help them with like personal development, basically. Anyone that came there, it's all set up. We've got like book lists and all these different categories for people to connect with each other. Like, we've got first responders and military and dads.
Oh, wow.
And younger guys and all that stuff. And kind of what it's morphed into now is it's really just a place where guys can come. We've got a vent chat where they can just throw their stuff out there, right? Get it out. And other people talk to them about it. And the rules are there's no negativity in there, right? There's no telling people they should think differently. There's no bashing guys for talking about things that they're not proud of, right? It's a place where you can just share whatever you want, right? And the really cool thing, like it's all totally free. And all of these guys that were like, I call them the OG members, right? Like the people that got in really early on, and it like helped them, and we've become close, and like now they're all the moderators. I literally don't do anything. Like I just set up the link, people go there, the mods are there. They just do it because they benefited from it. They got help. So now they're helping the other guys. And it's like this cycle that keeps happening and growing. And every single week we have a group call where like I hop on, and there will be anywhere from like 50 to 100 guys that hop on this call. It's nuts.
Really? Okay.
And I just give them all everyone the opportunity. I just tell them, hey, if you guys want to come up, just get something off your chest, just say hello, talk about what's going on in your life, just raise your hand. And then one by one, man, all night long, they just come up and like pour out and like get things off their chest and talk about things. Cause the reality is, and what I experience and maybe what you experience and a lot of guys experience is there normally isn't anyone in your life that you feel completely safe to tell them anything, right? Like in a way that that they're not going to judge you at all, right?
Yeah.
But the beauty of the internet is you can be totally anonymous, right? You don't have to worry about what people think about you when you say these things, right? You can just throw it out there. None of us know you. None of us like are going to tell your family, your friends that you're weak, or you did this, or you cheated on your girlfriend, or your girlfriend's cheating on you, or any of that stuff. So it's just been like a really cool thing that I did not plan at all, and it just kind of happened, and it's something that I really enjoy about the whole experience.
That's awesome. And it's unfortunate that a lot of men who go through tough times don't normally have anybody to comfort them. And I've been very vocal about my experience when I got divorced. The ex-wife, her and I are on great terms. We're totally cool. But I remember she went on a smear campaign where she told everybody everything I had done, and I lost everything. I lost not only I filed for divorce, but not only did I lose her and everybody, but I lost all the friends I grew up with. So lifelong friends I'm talking since high school, and I'm 39 at the time. Everyone dropped me, and church. Everyone who I knew at church just nah, dude. I don't want that bad juju over here. So people at church let me down. So it's like, really. I'm like, dude, going through a dark time. He goes, no, you sin, brother. No. I don't want that in my space. You got to go on your own. So I was banished by everybody. I had zero. And when I say zero, I had nobody. And I remember calling some friends like, hey, I need a friend right now, man. I'm going through a dark time right now. Like, nah, I can't. You know what? Because, Kim's not going to let me go, like his wife, who were friends with the ex-wife. So I went through a really dark time, but I made it through thanks to Mel Brooks movies, and just hiking. Whenever I was in a dark place, I just put on a comedy just to kind of change the energy, just to kind of get through, and just working out and all these other things. But it was tough. But if there had been a Discord page like that, and that I knew of, I think it would have just made my life a whole lot easier, man. It really would have. So the fact that this kind of just, just blossomed and evolved into something that's, potentially saving men's lives is a beautiful thing. And it's sad. I mean, a lot of people don't know how tough it is to be man, or they hear the stereotypes, but it is true. When someone's going through a tough time, it's funny how everyone just drops you. Yeah. And you just got to go about it on your own. What are you seeing? Like the men that go on this page, what are some of the common, traits or events that you're seeing that are really impacting young men right now?
Yeah. I mean, for the young guys, it's all over the place. But for a lot of guys, the end of a relationship is really challenging for a lot of these guys, because they experience something similar to you, where there's some type of smear campaign, right? Yeah. And maybe they deserve it too, right? And sometimes they don't. And there's a lot of guys that, come on there and they're going through a divorce, right? And, their wife is withholding their children from them, and they're not getting to see their children at all. And then there's this giant custody battle, and, how that normally ends up going for them, unfortunately. And I don't know, man, like there's so many different things that I see on there, like from from people grieving from, the loss of a loved one or a friend to
Hmm.
people struggling with addiction to people, losing their
It's all over.
relationships. It's all over the place. I wouldn't say that there's like one common theme with all of it. It's just anything that you can think of. Guys are on there talking about.
Okay. Are you finding that men are saying they're like they can't confide into their wife? Like, do they feel like they have no alternative but to go to these areas? Are you hearing that confession at least? Like, I'm grateful that this is here because I can't talk to my wife because she'll look, or my girlfriend because she'll look, think ill of me or won't respect me. Are you seeing that kind of communication or I guess confession?
Of course, yeah, yeah. And to be honest with you, I kind of believe that that isn't necessarily the right thing to do anyways, right?
Hmm.
Like, yes, you have to communicate and let them know when something's wrong, right?
Right.
Let them know how they can help you, right? Let them know certain things, but I don't necessarily believe that you should be like dumping it on them.
Oh yeah. Like in other words, dumping and not having a plan of action, or just like, what do you mean exactly?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Where it's like you need to get these things out there and you're just dumping on them, right? Like you're telling them how you really feel about them sometimes and
Yeah.
and all of the stuff that the guys come in and talk about, right? And
Hmm.
for them a lot of times it's not necessarily that they can't talk to her, it's that they don't have any friends to talk to about it, right? Like they don't
Hmm.
have, that one best friend that they can just talk to about this type of stuff or anybody at all.
Hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and with my experience, like I said, I guess I've had like a lot of bad luck, especially with the friends piece. Like I tend to not tell my friends a lot of things. I tend to keep it to myself and just really talk to my therapist or my fiance right now. But I like keeping my business internalized or in a safe place because I've just throughout my life I have confided in friends, and then before you know it, everybody knows what I told him, and everybody
Right.
knows your business, and they could either one use it against you, or now you're the gossip of the town. Everyone knows your business. So it's like, I hope guys do have that good friend that they can confide in and know that he's not going to say a damn word. But unfortunately, there's a lot that will open their mouths or tell their wives, no, don't look unto my wife. Don't worry about it. And then they do when they get home. So it's a
Right.
sad thing. Do you, if you don't mind me asking, the relationship with your wife, do you have that strong relationship to whether you can, not dump things on her, but you can communicate to her about things that are going on? And, I have this idea. What do you think? Do you have that healthy camaraderie?
Yeah, man, we're a team. We're a team.
That's awesome.
It's crazy because we weren't always like that, right? And for me, she was really the first girlfriend that I ever had that made it past like a 6 month period. It was the first
Really?
serious girlfriend that I ever had. Everyone before that, I had, you know, maybe five or 10 girls that, I had dated casually and things got a little serious, but like it never really worked out. Right. And
Hmm.
with her, it was like the first one where it was like, I wanted to stay. You know what I mean? And,
Hmm.
we kind of got to a point where we got married. Like I was the first to get married of my friend group. We got married when I was like 24, right?
Hmm.
And we had no idea what we were doing. Zero clue. Like no idea. We got married. I I don't know that it was necessarily even the right thing to do at the time, right? Um,
Did you do it
but
because you wanted to, or like, in other words, I want to marry you, or did you feel pressured by outside forces to get married?
it was both. It was
Okay.
both because it was like for me, I knew that in my mind, it was like I'm not going to find somebody else like this. I'm not going to find somebody better than this. Like this is the person, you
This
know?
is the one. Hmm.
Yeah, and we at that point, like, we didn't really have any, there wasn't any strife in our relationship. It was just easy. Like, we were into the same types of things. We got along pretty well. Like, we didn't really argue about many things at all. Now that changed once we got married and started, working together as like business partners and doing all that stuff, because it was like, all right, this is a whole different type of relationship now. We have to like really talk about things. We have to really
Hmm.
work together and become a team. And um, through for us, the biggest impact was the church for us. We
Oh, church. Okay. Hmm.
yeah, we neither of us. I would say we were both agnostic when we got married. But we met a couple when we moved to Pittsburgh that became great friends. They were super religious and like, but also like very successful and happy, and like all of their friends were like really successful and happy too, and they all
It's a
loved
perfect
Jesus.
circle to be around. Yes.
Exactly. We got out of
Yeah.
like my friend group that we were just, getting high and partying, and they were
Hmm.
all still chasing girls and doing all that stuff.
Hmm.
And we found this whole new circle of people that like they taught us how to be married, basically.
Hmm.
Like they taught us how to have these conversations, how to figure out what our roles should be, how I can start leading my relationship instead of just being, I was the most passive person you'd ever meet in your life, man.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
go with the flow. Everything's cool. Whatever happens, happens, bro. Like,
Hmm.
that was who I was. That's who I always was, just happy go lucky. And then it was like I had to step it up and figure out how to become a leader, how to figure out how to guide the relationship, because in my mind, if the woman is leading the relationship, you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster.
I agree.
Like, it's just a lot of ups and downs. You're just on this ride. And for me, I had to figure out how to be that rock, right? No matter what was going on, no matter how bad things were getting, because they got bad. Like, things, life does not go to plan. The big bad wolf
It,
comes for everybody, right?
yeah. Hmm.
So it's like when that happens, of course she's gonna be wrecked, you know? And
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, I have to make sure she knows everything is gonna be all right. I'm not exactly sure how yet, but I'm going to make it happen, right? I'm going to reassure her that we are still going to do this. We are going to make this happen. We are going to be okay. We're going to get out of all this debt we put ourselves in, right? We are going to,
Hmm.
fix these issues that we're having with communication, or issues, with us not having sex anymore, or issues with us, all these things. I had, a really bad porn addiction as well, from like childhood into the marriage. And it was
Hmm.
like all of these things kind of like came together all at once and
Hmm.
and exploded at one point. And we could have just we could have just said that's it, right? Like, we just shouldn't be together anymore. Like, this is
How many
too
years was
hard.
this discussion? How many years were you married when this discussion was taking place?
Um, so it's probably about 3 or 4, yeah, like 3 or 4 years into the marriage, like
Okay.
kind of also right around when we had our first child, which,
Yeah.
as you know, being married is difficult, right? Being
Very
married with a child is
changes
really
everything.
hard. Everything.
Yes. Yep.
Everything, man. The whole dynamic, everything changes. And then when you
Hmm.
have more, it just keeps getting harder. you know,
Yeah. It doesn't
it,
get any
it
easier now.
it doesn't. It really doesn't. Like, the kids are challenging. Like, they just are. That's how it is. They're gonna test you, and while you're trying to figure that whole thing out, it's so easy to lose sight of your relationship with your wife. You know?
That's what. I don't know if you've seen that video, but that's exactly what happened in our case.
Yes.
One, I do admire the fact that you two are working together as a team. That's one thing I always wanted to do in the previous marriage, but we never could. We grew apart. We got married at 21. And by the time we're 30, we're completely two different people. I was more like you, ambitious. Hey, time to do something. Let's work together.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't for her. And the one thing that you just mentioned here, as far as the God, I lost my train of thought here. I just had a good point too. Son of a gun. The kids, yes, we had a wonderful, it was our first 4 years, and we're just traveling, playing games, and just doing our thing. And then kids come, and I'm not blaming the kids, of course, but it changes the entire element. Life gets a little bit more harder. Stress comes to play a little bit more. You're more fatigued. You're more tired than another one, and there's just that much more. But I remember what was really ultimately the downfall for both of us is that we forgot to be husband and wife. Yep. And we were mom and dad for many years. And before you know it, I looked at her and I didn't see my wife. I just saw a mom, and vice versa, because we hadn't been romantic or done husband wife things in years. And that's, and I'm glad you caught that. And I'm glad, because your life's getting busy, the kids are taking most of your time, but you have to put your spouse first. I don't know if you agree with me, but your spouse comes first than the kids. I truthfully believe that. You have to be the strong foundation for your family. If not, things crumble.
Nailed it. Yep. Because they're looking to you guys.
Yes.
Right. And if you don't have that, what's the point?
I agree. Well, let me ask you this. I love thank you for sharing all that. And speaking of porn addiction, I had that too when I was married, and it really messed me up because she had a difficult pregnancy back in 2005 or 2006. I don't remember. And of course, what is the guy going to do? Just going to go to the restroom and, knock it out, because it's easier to not be angry and so aggressive all the time and just go in the restroom and take care of it. But yeah, I'm an advocate of that. Now, I've had people on my podcast saying porn is not addictive. It's the addictive personalities that make it addictive. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of see that. But for a young man, I can only imagine what a young teenage boy is going through right now. I would have went insane, and it would have really messed me up, dude. So the fact that you conquered that speaks volumes, brother, because I cannot imagine, especially being a young man with all that testosterone and that in my hand, the videos and all that. Oh my God.
It's a massive problem. When you asked about one of the common themes, that is actually one of the common themes. I think that I would say, if I had to guess, I'm making this up, but if I had to guess, I would say 90% of guys are watching some type of porn, whether they're looking at girls on Instagram or they're watching videos and getting it done. And I feel like it messes you up mentally, because for me, it was like cheating. Because when you think about it, right, a lot of people talk about visualizing, right? There's a lot of, personal development books about, Michael Jordan visualizes shooting free throws, because your mind doesn't know the difference between you visualizing it and you actually doing it. Right. So I believe it's the same thing with porn. All of a sudden, you're visualizing cheating on your girlfriend or your wife every single time you do this.
Okay.
Right. And I think that's part of where the guilt comes from, because a lot of people do feel, some people are just clear of it. They've made up their minds that this is a healthy thing for them to do. It is their time to relieve stress. And I don't know, maybe it is. I don't know the answers, but I know for me, it was extremely unhealthy, because if it's something you have to hide from your significant other, it's a problem no matter what it is. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of young men, I've had sex experts on the podcast, and they're telling me it's funny how it's not funny, but because of that addiction at such a young age, you get a smartphone or an iPad, you have access to the world in front of you, that a lot of young men in their late teens and early 20s have erectile dysfunction, because they have a dopamine type of imbalance in their mind, because they've been seeing everything visual on the screen. They don't know how to react physically when they have a woman in front of them. And I've had women tell me that their husbands were so addicted to porn that the only way he can even get erect or even get near a climax is he had to get his phone and look at her through his phone while he's sleeping with his wife. Isn't that crazy? He had to look through a phone to actually get that connection in his head. So that blew my mind.
That's a whole nother level. But I can definitely confirm. I have talked to many 18, 19-year-old kids that experience that. They literally, and some of them, it's not like they don't have sex consistently, maybe not consistently, but they're having sex from time to time with girls. But like a lot of times they end up in this position where they've got a beautiful girl in front of them and nothing is happening and they don't understand why. And it's like, for me, if I saw a hot girl sitting next to me when I was that age, like I was just fully erect, like I was just walking, felt like my whole teenage experience was erect. Like,
yeah. Hope I had my math book to cover it up as I left class or something, right? Or my backpack or something.
Right. Exactly. So it's like, I firmly believe it is a huge, huge problem with guys nowadays. And you can see it with all of the people that are creating like courses and coaching programs and content like that everyone is resonating with because they're trying to stop. Right. And it's like it's worse than heroin because it's free. It's free. Like you don't even and nobody has to know that you did it. Right. Like it's this thing, that's just infected all of these young guys. And I don't know like what the answer is, because once you see it as a kid, like you're hooked. Like once I realized I could get on my computer and just watch that whenever I wanted to, like if no one was around, it was like, wow, like I'm going to do this all the time.
Yeah. Like when I was a kid, we had the scrambled channels in the late 80s, early 90s and Playboys that we couldn't reach because they were behind the counter at a gas station. And I was like, damn it, I can't wait till I'm 18. We had nothing and we had to use our imagination. Some of us use a Sears catalog or Victoria's Secret catalog. We had nothing. So I can only imagine the amount of whacking we would have done as kids. And again, ultimately, I think it would have just messed us up with real women and all that. But that's, it's an insane topic, man. But what would let's go to the marriage piece real quick, because again, you're happily married, you got kids, you had you had a moment 3 years in where things were going bad. And what was it that saved it? You said it was maybe your friends or maybe them giving you ideas of how to maybe improve your marriage. What got you through that rocky period in that 3-year mark?
I think it was the if I had to like point out one thing, it was just the commitment we had to each other. It was like,
that's awesome.
It was like we're at a point where my wife was like expecting me to leave. You know what I mean? Like she was at this level where she was crying, like hyperventilating because she fully expected that like when we had this conversation, like I should leave her, and it was like for me, if I hadn't done all of the growth and had all the conversations and all the people around me with healthy marriages and talked to so many like really great guys before that, I might have done that, right? I might have just said, you know what, this isn't worth it. Like you're in the wrong here. I've done nothing here, and I deserve better. Right. But in my mind, it was like, I took the blame, which I don't know if that's the right thing or the wrong thing to do. But in my mind, I was like, okay, there's a reason she didn't feel comfortable coming to me with this stuff up to this point where it's a complete breakdown, right? Like it's my fault that I haven't created this space and enough trust with her that she knows she can come to me when things are going wrong, right? And it was like, I mean, it wasn't just a switch. Like we were fine after that. Like it was
Right.
a good year of, even now, like it's not like we're perfect, right?
Of
Nobody's
course. Right.
relationship is perfect. We all have our moments. There's always something new, always a new challenge and a new thing that's happening that we have to figure out. But like we're at this point where, um, if one of us does get upset or does get aggravated, like the amount of time it takes to go from a 10 to a 2 is like minutes,
Hmm.
right? Where it's like we can resolve our conflicts so quickly because we both apologize. And
That's
we
awesome. That's awesome that you do that, Matt. Wow.
it's
I didn't have to
it's
acknowledge that. Wow.
it's so crucial that both of you
Mm,
admit that you're both wrong, right? Like,
yeah.
because if she just says sorry and I say it's okay, everything's gonna be all right. Like I know that you blew up and it's not like you, but I'll forgive you. Then it's
Hmm.
like I'm winning, right? Like I'm playing this game where it's like she did that to me. Now I have that over her. Where
Yeah.
instead you have to look at why she's acting that way. Like, why did this happen? Have I been neglecting her? Have I been
Mhm.
neglecting my duties, like around the house? Have I been neglecting, date nights with her? Like,
Right.
I have to figure out like what got us to this point because it wasn't just her having an emotional breakdown. Like, I had a role in it too, you know?
Hmm.
So it's like
Right.
both apologize. When we learn to do that, I that changed everything for us.
The fact that you said that, and I had an emotional reaction to that because I know what I'm sorry would have meant to me back then.
Yeah.
It would have I just felt like a huge weight off my shoulders when you said that. Like, wow, if I would have heard that more, or, we both said it to each other, it's not like who's saying it more than the other, but if we said it together, I probably would still be married. I probably
Right.
would because I truthfully fought for it and exhausted every possible resource and option. And when I saw nothing worked, I had the peace of mind knowing, okay, I tried everything. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But that's a beautiful thing that you and your wife have. And I applaud you both for saying that because, again, I bet a lot of people who are listening to this would just like, I would love that he or she would have said that.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know, like, I don't know, man. I feel blessed to have her, like, to have a woman that, like, and she wasn't always that way, and I wasn't always this way, right?
You're
And
evolving together.
yeah, we're growing in the same direction together.
That's
You know,
beautiful.
we have a common goal. We talk about our future and our goals and what we want to accomplish and what's important to us. And we don't allow the stupid things to distract us because for us and where our faith is, to us that is the enemy, like trying to divide us,
Hmm.
and call it whatever you want, but it's like those voices in our head that are spewing the negative. Like I get them all the time where it's like, man, if she would just do this, like it's always when something happens. If I lose my hat, it's like, man, she probably put it somewhere where I'm never gonna find it. When in reality, I left it in my car or something. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
most of the time, I realize like I am at fault. And it's like I get this confirmation bias every time like I have the stupid thought and then I come to realize I'm like, oh, that wasn't her at all. I'm an idiot,
Yeah. I tell
But
people all the time that, and I like how you said it's always something that comes up, an obstacle. Yes, that's life. I don't care how smart you think you are or how carefully you plan things will always go wrong. It hardly ever goes according to plan. And I've always preached that you want to see your partner before you get married at their worst. Like, how do they handle stress and conflict? Like, do they implode, yell at you, it's your fault? Or do you work as a team? Do they stay calm? because that person, that moment right there is who you're marrying.
Right.
Because as you know, life is hard. And
Right.
and that's the person truthfully that you're going to experience. So that's a person you want to see. And I'm glad you brought that up, because again, life is just nothing but obstacles, and something broke down, a flat tire. Oh, guess what? The check engine light came on, and all these other things. So things just constantly are thrown in your face. So you want somebody who's going to be there with you and, hold your hand, and, not hold your hand, but just be there with you through that dark moment and not blame anybody, and support and work together. That's a beautiful thing. Right. Now, regarding marriage, you're on TikTok, as you've mentioned, just like I am. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of young men and just people in general saying, screw marriage. I'm done with that. I'm not ever going to get married. I don't want to lose my kids, etc. What are your thoughts on this young generation? I guess these millennials and Generation Y that are now just turning away from marriage. Even the MGTOW movement. Have you heard about that? I'm sure you have. The MGTOW movement, men going on their own and just totally not having women involved in their lives. But what are your thoughts when you hear young people talk about not going the marriage route?
I get it. And maybe like I can understand like why they feel that way, right? I can understand why they don't want to do that. It's to me, it's like the same thing as when people decide they're not going to have kids, right? And the common theme there is that it's risky, right?
It is.
And it's going to be hard, and you're going to have to sacrifice. And there's a chance that even if you do everything right, you're going to end up with a sick child or a bad wife or something that, was maybe out of your hands. And I think one of the big problems is no one is teaching kids how to have relationships. Where are they learning that from? They're not learning it from their parents, most of them, right? Most of them don't have a good example there, right? They're not learning it at school. They're certainly not learning it from their friends, because their friends have no idea what they're doing either. Right? Most of them are just absorbed in this hookup culture of, this is how you become cool, or, build your ego up and all that. And I'm guilty of that too when I was younger, but if I didn't have the church and the people that came into my life and all of these, like we probably went to 10, maybe even 15 like conferences about leadership and marriage and all of these like really foundational things that people don't learn anywhere, like you have to seek it out. And it's not so easy to find, like the good information. It's not so easy to find. A lot of times it is in, certain books that people can read. And then those people have YouTube channels and stuff like that. Like the information is out there, but it's totally different than, your dad sitting you down and saying, hey, this is how marriage works, right? Like this is how, because I never had a single conversation with either one of my parents on how to treat a girl, how to date, how to, when to have sex and like all of that stuff. So it's like, of course, everyone is lost in that. There's no game plan. There's no rule book. There's no anything. And, if you go to church or temple or some type of religion, typically you can find that there, right? Like a lot of them talk about those types of things. They have guidelines, how to have a successful relationship. And even though maybe those places you're going to find a lot of people that aren't practicing what they preach, of course, right? Because that's just people.
Unfortunately, that's all I've ever experienced in my life. I hate to say that out loud, but it's the truth. And when I needed them the most, they weren't there. So that really sucked.
Exactly. And that's it right there. Like it's one of those things where people are always going to let you down. You can't have faith in people because people are imperfect, right? It has to be something bigger than that. It has to be something higher. You have to find whatever it is that feels right with you, and go down that path and try to stick to it as best as you can. And at least with that, like, you have something rather
Hmm.
than everyone is just going in blind. Like,
Yeah.
they have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what they should do. They have no idea what success looks like in a relationship because they never personally seen it.
Never seen one.
Yeah, like, and I had never seen one. I had never truly seen one. Right? Like, it's one of those
Neither
things
have
where,
I. Neither have I. I'm even including my parents.
right?
And like to your point, I don't blame kids because they've never seen a healthy example. Yeah. Or grew up in single parent homes. So yeah, I get why they're not going that route. In a way, I think that's a good thing. Because I've always said that I know there's a lot of young people who get married for the wrong reasons, and I've seen it
Yes.
firsthand. Somebody in their friend group gets engaged, and then that spell, that bug, or that thoughts like inception that grows in all the other women's mind, like, when are we going to get married? And I've seen it firsthand, like personal friends at workplaces where some of them force marriages, like, well, I'm going to get pregnant, or I'm going to make him, or I'm going to dump him. And I see a lot of people are forced again for the wrong reasons. And then what happens 7 years in, 5 years in, they're divorced because again, they wanted the day, they wanted the moment, but they didn't think long term. And whether it be church, like you said, or coaches out there, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of outside of religion, there's other programs out there
Right.
that have maybe boot camps. I don't know. You sure you want to get married? Well, here's a checklist. We're going to talk about all these things. I think that would be a huge benefit to them to get an idea of what marriage really is. Cause I can't phrase it better than you did, man. It's hard.
It is.
It's sacrifice.
It is. It sucks. It's not all.
It sucks. Yeah.
It,
But not
it
all the
does.
time.
No, of course not. Of course not. But, like, when it comes down to it, like, there's gonna be moments that will break you down. You're gonna
Yeah.
be stuck and lost and not sure what direction to go, and if you don't
Who to listen
have
to. Mentor.
exactly who to listen to, if you don't have a mentor or someone who has a healthy relationship that you can say, or confide in, it's like you just kind of wing it, or you give up, or you go in the wrong direction. And, people will pay, $30,000 for a new car, or they'll pay $200,000 for a college education, but they won't pay two, three, four, $5,000 to figure out how to fix their marriage, which is like,
Work on themselves.
yeah, and work on themselves and develop. And, like, I've invested so stupid amounts of money into just any program and book and coaching thing that I could find, because I was starving for help and, like, answers and just something to make this go right.
Hmm.
And it was worth it. It was worth it. I would spend even more. Like, it's so worth it compared to the stupid things I spend money on.
I agree. And again, I love your situation. And I think you're incredibly blessed because when you're in that situation where the marriage is about to break and you have a partner, and I'm speaking for myself, but also other men and women who've messaged me and told me their story. It's like they don't have that other partner who's willing to meet them halfway or go
Right.
to counseling or blames them for everything, doesn't take accountability. It's a heartbreaking moment. And I remember in my marriage, I was there like, I'm trying to save it. I know I fucked up. I know I'm not a good husband, but I'm trying to save it. And I remember there's one night I fell to the floor in the fetal position, just cried like a funeral, like a movie funeral. I was just crying because I knew it was over, and I tried my best and I didn't want to fail. And I knew it was over. But again, it's what other options does somebody have when the partner's not willing to meet them?
You don't.
Seriously, what other options are there?
You don't. You don't.
There's none.
I've seen it so many times with friends, clients that I've worked with. They come to me telling me about their relationship, and how they want to fix things. And I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
what is she going to do? Right. Because
Exactly.
you're, you got problems, of course, but she does too. Like, is she gonna hop on the calls with us and talk things through and try and figure this out too, or is she just expecting you to magically fix all this stuff? Because it does not work. It is not a one-sided thing. There is like something to that, right? Like, because I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's like you want your spouse to change, right? Everybody
Hmm.
wants them to change in some way, right? And
Right.
it's like, how do you change someone? Do you tell them they need to change? I don't think that works. Not in
Nope.
my
I know the
experience.
answer, but I'm waiting for you to say
And
it.
and it certainly doesn't work when someone tells me I need to change, right? I
Nope.
might I might respond by saying I'm going to do I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to fix this, but like I am who I am for the most part. There's like certain things that are my default settings that like I'm trying to change, but it's so ingrained in me that like I'm not going to be the best at that.
Hmm.
Maybe one day, I don't know, but it's like, all right, so what can you do? You have to treat it like you're managing an employee in a way, right? Like you
Hmm.
have to figure out what motivates them to change. You have to figure out how can I treat them differently to make them want to change, because they have to come to that conclusion on their own,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Hmm.
If it's from you or from her, like it's I don't think that's going to work very well. But if they come to the conclusion of they're seeing you, make changes on your end and help out and schedule the date nights and you're doing more stuff around the house and you're kind of fixing the things that are triggers for her, right? And you're more aware of those things. Like
Hmm.
in my experience, like that's when she's like more open. Like she starts, not being distracted by all of those things that were kind of messing with her head in a way, right?
Right.
And now she can start thinking about our relationship in a positive way again. And then, they're more open to whatever it is you may need them to do more, right? Like that's been my experience.
Hmm. And that's a wonderful way to end the podcast, guys. That's perfect. I don't want to ruin that take. So that's the perfect way to send off, man. So Harvey, again, this was again, I've talked to many people here, and this was a very a great conversation. And I have to say, I've learned a lot from you in this
Ah,
hour that we spoke, man. So again, this is awesome, and I'm glad there's somebody out there like you who's helping young men and get through some dark times, and because there's a lot of people in pain out there, men and women, just people in general, and they have no avenues to turn or think that there's no avenues. So for you to build this community with great advice. I'm talking great, not toxic advice, not red pill and all this other bullshit. I'm talking great advice. It's awesome, man. So I thank you for what you do, and just tell other listeners where they can find you.
yeah, man. And thank you for having me on. I could not be happier that we finally got to connect and do this thing. I've been, like I told you, I've been a big fan for a long time, and you're one of the few real people on social media that is thinking deeper about these things and thinking about the consequences of what type of content you post and how that affects your children and other
Right.
people and the whole situation and overall spreading a really positive message for people. I'm thankful that I could be on here, man. It's been really cool talking to you. So people can find me on TikTok. It's at Kings Community. On Instagram, it's at Kings __Kings or community. Unfortunately, I don't have that one. And yeah, that's where I post all of my content. If you guys go on there, you'll see a link where you can get on the Discord for free. It is for men only. I'm sorry, ladies, it is just for them. You will get kicked out if you get caught. Please don't try sneaking in or anything like that. But yeah, that's the deal, man. And I would love to do this again sometime. So if you ever want to do it
Absolutely.
again, just hit me up, man.
Definitely will. Again, Harvey, thank you so much.
All right, man. Have a good night.